Well, breaking news now. New Orleans Mayor Cantrell responds to two city council members who want the 911 call center chief, Tyrell Morris, suspended immediately. The council member's request comes after he announced he is stepping down weeks after he was involved in an accident in a taxpayer-funded vehicle. Morris says he will resign in September to refocus on taking better care of himself. But the city's two council members at large, Helena Moreno and J.P. Morrell, sent a letter to John Thomas, who is on the Orleans Parish Communication District Board of Commissioners. The letter asks that the board suspend Morris immediately, pending a full investigation into those actions related to and stemming from a May 7th accident in a taxpayer-funded vehicle.
Well, what I will say is that these are allegations, and that is why an investigation is warranted. An investigation will take place, and we will deal with that at that time. But allegations are allegations, and I'm very clear that they're not always accurate.
Mayor Cantrell also says the OIG is conducting an investigation.